So let's talk about conflict of interest. Now, this is going to be one of those agree or disagree posts, but I think a lot of people misuse or misunderstand the term conflict of interest. Here's what I think. A conflict of interest is not when you work for two different organizations that work in the same space. It's when you work for two organizations that are actively working against each other to achieve a particular goal, and where your involvement with one could compromise the effectiveness of the other. Here's an example. Let's say you're working for Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Sure, they're competitors and they might prefer an exclusive PR rep, but that doesn't automatically present a conflict of interest. That's just business competition. However, if you're working for, let's say, a cigarette company and a legislator who's trying to ban those cigarettes in their area, that is a conflict of interest because you're sitting on both sides of the argument. On one day, you're promoting the interests of the tobacco company, and on another day, you might be working with the elected leader to advance the legislation that undermines the tobacco company's business. In short, you have access to information and strategy that you shouldn't have. And if you intentionally or even accidentally share information from one client with another that is proprietary and important to their business, you have not only made an ethical violation, but you have breached a conflict of interest. And that is the key point. A conflict of interest only exists when you get inside information from one client that you actively use against another. It is not about similarity. It is not about competition. It is about opposition. It only becomes a conflict when the goals of one oppose the goals of the other. So before you accuse anyone or even worry yourself about a conflict of interest, ask yourself this question. Is the client playing a zero-sum game? In other words, for them to win, does the other party have to lose? If the answer is yes, it's a conflict. If the answer is no, it's simply not. Because working in the same industry or the same sector is not a conflict of interest. Working both sides of the same fight is. And understanding the difference matters.